All right, what up, Who That Nation? This is No Cap, No Filter Saints. I'm your boy, Marley G. We got our special guest back on the show, man. Another warm welcome for Bryan, man. What's up with you, Bryan? How you feeling, bro?
Was good, my G. What's happening with you?
Man, I had better days as a fan. I had better days. I ain't gonna much gonna lie, but we're gonna head on and get right into it, man. Let's not even much cut no corner. Let's get straight into it, man. What were your overall thoughts on the Panthers and Saints game after the Saints victory 28-6?
I kind of was hoping they was gonna lose, to be honest with you, man. And if anybody else, you know what I'm saying, they would have been, if the Saints would have been playing anybody else, they lose that game. Because I mean, Bryce Young missed a ton of throws, bro. That could have changed the whole complexion of that game. You get a special teams touchdown. You know, the running game looked solid early in the game. So I mean, I kind of wish they would have lost it, to be honest, because the worst thing I think, in my opinion, that could happen to the Saints is winning the game like Carolina and believing you're better than what you are. You beat a 1-11 football team, and Derek Carr, you know, at certain points of the game was, you know, stomping around like he hadn't threw for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. So, you know, for me, I wasn't impressed with anything, not offense, not defense, not special teams. So, I'm, you know, even though you get the block kick and stuff like that, it wasn't a good victory against a bad team.
Yeah, yeah, man. It was they. If you just look at the box score, they outgained us in a lot of different categories. They had time of possession on us. You know, they had like 20 more plays than us. And if you would have just told me that they'd have lost that game, I would have just been shocked, because it's like, man, how do you lose that game? They lost that game the same way we done lost multiple games. And that says a lot. And you got to just really factor in that Derek Carr had like 37 passing yards within the fourth quarter. And we really just took away with the lead like very late in the game. So the score is very misleading. And, you know, hats off to you if you're a fan and you one of those people who just want the team to win, and, you know, you take it victory week by week and you just want to win the division and you want to feel good. Hats off to you, but you got to be honest with yourself. This was a very ugly win against a team that won one victory all season, and I'm not about the moral victories.
Yeah, neither me, man. I really think that, you know, the Saints are, you know, kind of pounding their chest a little bit about the winning. I mean, don't get me wrong, the alternative would have been a full game losing streak. So I get it to a certain degree, but you can't feel good about that win, man. That you know, that win got to feel real bad for me. You know, like leave a nasty taste in your mouth, considering that they really should have smoked Carolina. You know, if you look at the teams on paper, anybody else, man, you know, you kind of, you would have took the good with the bad. But Carolina's a 1-11 football team that's still trying to find their way. They fired their head coach. The guy they got in charge now looked like, you know, he worse than what they had before. And Bryce looks awful right now. So I mean, for them to struggle with Carolina like they did, I'm not, you know, I'm like you, bro. I'm not into the moral victory. They can keep that one.
Yeah, I wanted the Saints to actually lose myself. You know, I look at it, I want to go through the storm to get to the sunshine. You know, people call me a fake fan online a lot. I'm gonna just go ahead on and have to take it. I see it as, you know, we got the same destination, but we just got different paths. And I just want chaos so Dennis Allen could get fired, because I really feel like it is detrimental to win at this point of the season. Like, I really want Atlanta to win, because I feel like they might just retain their head coach and they might double down with Desmond Ritter. So I just feel like that'll be detrimental to them. And I want everything to be detrimental to them, because even if they go to the playoffs, they won't go far. And on top of that, they're going to have a harder schedule next year. So I look at it like, go ahead on and win a division if you want, or even the Bucks. Go ahead on and win a division. Get worse draft position. Let us get the draft position. And if DA gets fired, which I very much hope, just like the other Saints fan that very much hopes that we could get up in the playoffs and make a run, we all got our hopes. But when it comes to Derek Carr, Bryan, you was like one of the first people to really call out his play. You was like one of the first people to tell people to open up their eyes against this dude. And it seemed like within the past few weeks, he's lost the locker room. He's lost the fan base. He's about to get put back in the concussion tent by Eric McCoy. I mean, he's getting into it with everybody on the sideline. Michael Thomas is tweeting about him. What's your overall thoughts on Derek Carr and just him at odds with the fan base this fall?
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people kind of, you know, they take the whole Derek Carr not ingratiating himself into the city. They take that personally. And yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and it's a bad sign, no doubt. That's like one of the top red flags. But even if that wasn't the case, if he was going out there and actually balling, there's a lot that can be forgiven. So it's on top of the fact that you're treating us like you really don't want to be here. You're playing bad on the field too. And you, on the flip side of that, you have a guy like Jameis who, seems to be one of the most likable dudes on the team and in the city. So, I mean, it kind of everything is snowballing against Derek Carr, and he's not helping the process with the way he's playing out there. And of course, then that, you add that to the fact that his brothers get on Twitter and they kind of run their mouth a little bit. It's almost like making him even an more likable person and quarterback. And that's hard to do when you can have a guy go out there and, as you said, up until the fourth quarter, and I want to say 8 minutes into the fourth quarter, up until that was left in the game, he had 37 yards passing. I'm like, you can't win football games like that. And he was paid to be, the answer to the quarterback question. I don't see it yet. I'm never going to see it. And I've gotten to many argument, with people about his ability to play the quarterback position. And it looks like I've been proven right thus far.
What do you think Derek Carr has to do to get back in the fans' graces?
I think first and foremost, just take accountability for when you have a bad game or a bad play. Like, it's always somebody else's fault, which led to the argument with Eric McCoy, and of course, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Mike Thomas. The reason why nobody likes Derek Carr, or it seems to be that way, is because whenever something happens, it's everybody else's fault but his. It would be nothing for Derek Carr to say, you know what, guys, I just have to play better. I understand, we're getting the wins, but I have to play better in order for us to go far, into the playoffs or whatever. That's all we're looking for, is a little accountability. But that shows the lack of character that he has, because you can't stand up as a man and say, you know what, it's on me. I got to play better. Hell, Jameis was in the game for all of three minutes, and he still went to the end of the game and said, you know what, I got to hit those passes to Chris Olave when he's open. That's what a leader does, man. We watched a leader for 16 years put it all on him, even when it wasn't on him. Derek Carr just ain't that dude.
Derek Carr is basically tied to Dennis Allen. A lot of people feel like Dennis Allen is not going anywhere, especially if he wins at least 8 games. Dennis Allen and Derek Carr is pretty much, just the marriage that we got to deal with. And, until that contract is up, that's what we're going to have to deal with, unless we just eat that money. But what do you feel like? How much better you think Derek Carr could be if he just had another offensive coordinator like that, just come in and just one of the best offensive coordinators that we could just nab in the offseason?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be marginally better than what we have right now. Like, Derek Carr is who he is at this point. Now, I don't think an offensive coordinator is going to change that. Either you can ball or you can't. We're not talking about a dude that's like Bryce Young, for example. Rookie quarterback, just came into the league. Maybe you got a second-year, third-year guy like a Trevor Lawrence or something like that, to where you could be like, you know what, maybe an offensive coordinator would help him. Derek Carr's a 2-year vet. If he don't know how to ball by now, man, I mean, ain't nobody going to come in and just be like, give him a magic potion. All of a sudden, he's just going to start turning into Breeze 2.0. It's not going to happen. He is who he is. So can he get a little bit better? Of course. He can get a little bit better with play calling, but nothing is going to stop when you got a play that's wide open and you just don't see the field. Like, I want to say last week against, with A.T. Perry being wide open, but instead he goes to Juwan Johnson. It results in an interception, and all of a sudden now Detroit is up, 14-0. Derek Carr has to make that throw to A.T. Perry. I'm sorry. He has to make that throw to A.T. Perry. You got to be able to see that. An offensive coordinator ain't helping that part.
So what about the people who say, well, when Sean had Jameis was so much efficient. Yeah, he didn't have a lot of yards, but his touchdown and interception ratio was good, and he just was limited in his mistakes. Like, what do you feel about the people who feel like, yeah, we're going to have to deal with this? So as long as Dennis Allen could get the best offensive coordinator, if Sean could do it with Jameis, somebody could do it with Carr.
Well, I think that's the flaw in the logic. Is the idea of, we're talking about Sean Payton, one of the greatest head coaches in the NFL history. I mean, the man took the New Orleans Saints, a team that was once known for wearing bags on, fans were wearing bags on their head, a perennial loser, if you will. And the man took them to the NFC Championship game in his first year. So we can't compare that, to what maybe what Dennis Allen could do, or maybe you bring in an offense coordinator who may be able to help Derek Carr. Because again, we're not talking about a new dude. We're talking about somebody 9 years in the league. And yes, I get it. Maybe you can simplify the game plan enough to where Carr can't screw it up. But if you can't read defenses, then Carr is basically like a rookie out there, except he has a little bit more experience. You have to be able to see the field, and that's something that doesn't look like he can do very well. Could you give him some easier reads? Possibly. But, I mean, how much more easier can you get when you got a drag route going across the field and the man is wide open?
Recently, I think he addressed that he was playing with 2 broken ribs and nobody knew about it, or 2 fractured ribs, nobody knew about it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we already know about the 2 concussions. We already know about the shoulder. But you kind of was on Twitter and you kind of called cap. Like you really just said, like, man, I think he's faking a lot of these injuries, you know, in certain of these moments. Like, what are your whole takeaway of that whole situation?
Look, man. I know it's hard to, for me to sit on the sidelines or sit on my couch, watch the game and say Derek Carr look like he faking. But it's magical, man. Either Derek Carr is, biologically Wolverine in disguise, or that man lying about some of these injuries, bro. Because ain't no way in the world you can get 2 concussions, come back this quickly and act like nothing is wrong. You got these, a shoulder injury that possibly should be limiting your ability to go downfield, yet you can chuck it downfield when you want to. And of course, the broken ribs. Now we've seen Drew Brees try to play with broken ribs, or oblique injuries. That's where your torque comes from. Brees taught us long time ago, because he wasn't the tallest of dudes, how he gets the ball downfield when he used to have a cannon for an arm, so to speak. It's all in the waist. Well, if your ribs are injured, you ain't getting the ball out like that. To me, I don't know, man. Like I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV, but something ain't right about these injuries to where this man is healing this quickly. Like you go out in the fourth quarter of one game, you're back magically, almost as if nothing is wrong with you, running around doing drills and practice and everything else. You're doing everything else throughout the week to let us know that you're really not injured. So at some point, man, either, he getting shot up with everything known to man, or, like I said, he's secretly Wolverine and we ain't know it.
What's your take on the Saints 2 years in a row just trotting out a quarterback that's clearly injured? They knew about his injuries prior to the game. They seen him all week through practice. If they see him all week through practice and they still trot him out there, like what is your take about them, playing a quarterback that's just injured? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like why would they do that with Jameis? Some people say they did that last year to tarnish his image or whatever, but we already was 1-0 at the time. And this year, it almost seemed like, this is the Panthers. And, if Jameis come out here and light it up, we're going to get that quarterback controversy going on. What is your take about this whole situation right there when it comes to those injuries to the starting quarterback? And what's the purpose of having this backup brought in if you're not going to use him?
Well, I think is exactly what you said. Derek Carr and DA are tied to the hip. There's no way possible DA could allow Jameis to come in even slightly and outperform what Derek has done, because he set a precedent last year. He made it to where Jameis looked bad, trotting him out there with the injuries. And then you put in Andy Dalton, and when Jameis starts to say, hey, you know what, I'm healthy, you tell Jameis, well, you can't play now because you were injured. So we got the ball rolling now with Andy, so we're going to keep Andy in there. Well, if that happens again, and now Derek is hurt, you put Jameis in there, there's no justification for giving Derek the job back. And with the schedule being what it should have been, when you look at a team like Carolina, the Saints should have won that game. They should beat a Giants team. In fact, to be honest with you, they should win the rest of their games all the way out. But we're talking about the Saints. The Saints are the easy game on their schedules too. So the last thing you want is for Jameis to go out there, light it up, and now you got to justify, putting Derek Carr back in, or when he's not playing well, or you got to justify giving Derek Carr $150 million when Jameis is outplaying him. You're not trying to see that happen, man. So it's never going to be what we want it to be when it comes to Derek Carr. That's our starter. He's our guy. And if there's any chance remotely he can play, he's playing. Injuries be damned.
What do you make of Jameis Winston coming in and nailing on the victory formation?
I thought that was a petty ass move by Dennis Allen. It was almost like, one of them moves to like, here, damn, y'all wanted Jameis in the game. Here he is. That's kind of what that was. And it was petty. It was stupid. It was done to protect Derek Carr's stats, who were already, diminished. It was really irrelevant to that point, because if Derek Carr's your guy, why the hell are y'all being so sensitive about it? If you're going to stand there and pound your chest and say Derek Carr is our starter, then you should have left him out there and damn his stats, because as Derek Carr put at the end of the game when they asked him about it, we won. If that's all that matters is going, 1-0 each week, Derek got the job done, irrelevant to how we got it done. You should have put him out there for the victory formation too. That was petty as hell what they did, and disrespectful, in my opinion, to Jameis to even put him out there for that one snap.
Wait, hold on. You teaching me something like, so a knee can affect a quarterback's stats?
Yes, sir.
What does it do?
I want to say it takes away from the overall. Well, first of all, yardage. Anytime you take a knee, that's a down on your part. And it can affect their QBR. So their QBR rating and all of that stuff go with that, because it goes by the amount of snaps you take.
I guess that give them that's ammo for those empty calorie yards. They talk about how we talk about, oh yeah, we're 12th in the league in the offense, when it comes to yards, but it's just empty calorie yards. I guess they're all coming together. And I think that's
all the snaps, all and that snaps count for something.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why, it goes to show you that they're going to just take a lot of moral victories and they just build it in their excuses. Like with Derek Carr being hurt, like that's like the perfect built-in excuse to bring Dennis Allen back, because they're going to be like, oh, well, everything would have been fine if Derek Carr wasn't injured, even though we still had a lot of our playmakers 10 weeks into the season. But without the starting quarterback, like, what am I supposed to do? We're limited. Like, I just know it's just a built-in excuse, bro.
Exactly, and that's the crazy part. If DA actually wanted to save his job, he should have said Derek Carr some of these games. You know what I'm saying? To say, like, you know what, I didn't get a full 17 games out of Derek. Therefore, we never know if things could have turned around. And he can point to games here and there where Derek looked good as far as between the 20s. Now you can't do a damn thing about the red zone. Ain't no amount of changing. Like Derek Carr, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, could like go to the red zone and go 5-5 in the next couple of games, and his percentage still would be under 50%. Like he's that bad. I want to say he's like 23%, like career wise in the red zone. Like that ain't happening. Like what I'm saying, that's like that's almost as inefficient as it gets for a quarterback, especially one that's supposed to be QB1 making 150 mil.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like it's really like two parallel universes it could go. On one end, you bring in Derek Carr, and if we just stink the rest of the way, and you wind up getting fired, like that I don't think it ever happened before where a head coach draft a quarterback on one organization, gets fired after he drafts him, then goes coach another organization, signs him, and then get fired the same year that he signs him. Or the other parallel universe could be like, oh, it's ironic that James have to come and save the day and save DA job anyway in the end.
And that's exactly what DA trying to protect against. He don't want either one of them answers. So I mean, the best way to do it is to just say, you know what, look, that's my limit. I bought it. I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off, and that's kind of what he's doing. I mean, if DA's gonna go down, this was the year for him to go down because he got it his way. During the offseason, he got rid of a bunch of guys. He brought in his guys. He brought in Derek Carr. So everything was set up, and he had an easy schedule. Everything was set up this year for him to win. If you can't win it this year, I don't understand why keep him next year.
I have a lot of supporters that watch the show, and they're very, optimistic. They're very, glass half full type of people. And I want to go ahead on and show them some love. So let's just talk about some positives. Like, I did want to lose the game, but I did see some flashes of Bryan Brzee, Jordan Howard, and I seen some flashes of A.T. Perry. What are some positives that you take away from this team, since the last time we spoke?
I mean, there's a lot. There's some things to be excited about. It seems that the Saints have finally figured out what to do with Zach Bond. It's kind of crazy that it took him all these years to figure it out, and now he's in a contract year, so you could potentially lose him. And everybody's always looking for a pass rusher. That's what he does well. So now you could potentially lose him in the offseason, but they finally figured out that they should use Zach Bond. It seems to be they did hit with Bryan Brzee. That looks like to be one of the picks that they finally got right. And, when Pete Werner is healthy, Pete Werner's a dog, man. Like that boy, he can get it. He can really get out there, man, and get after it, bro. And it seems another dude, man, that's not being talked about a lot is Isaac Yedem, the cornerback, man. That boy making some nice plays out there, as far as being a backup cornerback. So we haven't really missed Marshawn as much as they possibly could. I mean, so for that, you got to kind of give them credit and say, you know what, the Saints defense, even though they're starting to get run on a little bit more, they do have some foundational pieces that you can look at. Offensive line wise, that was always a hit or miss unit. They're not playing as bad as they were in the beginning of the year. They seem to have kind of found their stride a little bit on, not necessarily that they got the right 5 guys, but they got the 5 guys good enough to give Derek time to win games. So, and of course, most importantly, hot damn, they finally found Jimmy Graham, right? I mean, it's after all these times, fans been begging for them to use Jimmy in the red zone. They finally starting to use him a little bit more. Hopefully that continues. So that'll be my 3 positives moving forward. But we still talking about a team that struggled to beat a 1-11 Carolina team. Even though the score is they scored 28 points.
Yeah. It's funny. It seems like it's like Dennis Allen, like, oh, we got some diamonds in the rough. Jimmy Graham could score in the red zone. Zach Bond, he could rush the passer. Damn, that's 2 areas we've been lacking at all season. Where do we get these guys? You know what I'm saying? It's just blasphemy that people really just vouch for this head coach. Man, I want him gone so bad, Brian. I want him gone so bad. But you speak about that we haven't, missed Marshawn Lattimore as much, but even when he was playing top level. Is there any beef with Marshawn and Dennis Allen? I've been hearing rumors.
Yeah, I mean that's the word right now, man. That they just not vibing right now. And I mean, how do you piss off your CB1, especially somebody as good as Marshawn? I think that's probably one of the reasons why Marshawn isn't kind of rushing himself back. It's to like I don't want to play for this dude. And how do you if you're paying attention to DA, it's starting to be more and more people that he's alienating as it goes along. Last year it was Chauncey. He got rid of Chauncey. This year it's Marshawn. And of course, you've already pissed off, people on offense like Mike Thomas and Jameis Winston by the way you've treated them. I mean, at some point, if you just listen to what the players are saying now, they're telling you everything you need to know. When a guy like Colin Sanders gets here, and it's like, you know what, man, scouting wise, I don't really think we're doing the best job of scouting. Alvin Kamara being vocal, Mike Thomas being vocal, like these dudes ain't keeping it in house. They're basically telling you exactly how they feel, and that's not something we've seen. So that's a DA problem. That's not a Saints problem, because I do believe the guys in the locker room, outside of maybe Derek Carr, I think the guys in the locker room like each other. Derek and DA, they're kind of a tandem in where they alienate themselves and isolate themselves, and eventually you're going to end up on that island you keep asking to be on.
Yeah, man. When it does come to DA, I think he got even more people in the doghouse. It's been rumored that Penning is in the doghouse. I don't know if that comes from DA or Carr. It's been rumored that Kendrick Miller is in the doghouse. Like, he hasn't really been injured like people think. It's just DA just been putting him in the doghouse. And Marshawn Lattimore, I don't know, like, when would his 4 games be up for the IR?
I want to say it was this week.
Okay, so
I'm trying to remember when Marshawn went down.
Sure. Was it the Vikings game?
I'm for some reason I feel like either he missed that game or that was the game that he went out in. I can't really remember when he went down. If that's the case, then he should have been back. Should have been back this week.
Because I'm pretty sure him and Michael Thomas got hurt the same game, right?
I want to say I think both of them went out that game. That could have been the Vikings. Yeah. So now we did the Panthers, we did the Bears. Last week it was the Lions
and the Falcons.
The Falcons. That's 4 weeks there plus a bye week. Yeah, that's like Marshawn should be back by now.
Yeah. A lot of people are talking about, maybe he might get traded and, things of that nature. Like, Matt Moscona, he kind of pretty much broke it down. Like, if we cut or trade a lot of these players, we're going to be spending even more money when it comes to the cap. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there's some players they can't get rid of right now, bro. Like Marshawn might be one of them. They just gave Cam that contract. That's not really easy to, move on from. DeMario got an extension right before that. Not really the easy to move on from. And, of course, you still got Derek Carr. So, I mean, what was it? The Saints, I believe Nicole said yesterday that they're $70 million over the cap right now for next year. Even if you wanted to get rid of some of these dudes, you can't, because you got to restructure their deals in order to get underneath the cap. So, do I see Alvin going anywhere? No. Do I see Marshawn going anywhere? No. Now, Mike is a little bit of a different story. Mike might be out. I think Andres Pete is gone. So that's going to relieve some of your cap issues. But, I mean, this is what the Saints paid for. This would have been the perfect year to kind of take a step back and eat the cap and deal with it. They ain't want to. They want to chase, Deshaun Watson and then settle on Derek Carr. This is the bed you made. You got to lay in it.
A lot of people are starting to feel like Gail is, feeling like the Pelicans is more of her baby than the Saints. And, they're starting to think of the worst thing that, maybe somebody could buy the Saints and the Saints could get moved out of town. Can you tell the people what's in Gail will?
Oh, yeah, Gail ain't going nowhere like that, man. Even if she sell a team, there's a provision in the contract, in her concession plan that says that, you can't move the team for X amount of years. So, I mean, let's say that number is 10 years, if you will. So that means whoever bought a team got to wait 10 years. And in that 10-year time period, are you still talking about moving a team somewhere else that's more lucrative than what New Orleans would be for you? And that's the whole key. Everybody likes to talk about moving, but nobody likes to talk about where. Where are you going to put a team that can guarantee you, the same amount or more money than what New Orleans would do, unless you're talking about going overseas, or going to Mexico City, somewhere like that. Other than that, that's not happening. There's not a lot of places you can put a team that's going to support an NFL franchise and have a stadium that's ready to go. So a lot of, not if they're taking LA off the market, that's pretty much a done deal. You got 2 teams in LA right now. So where else are the Saints going to move to if that happens?
You got a point right there. When it comes to the front office, Mickey Loomis, he says we got the right people in the building. He says that, you know, the fans shouldn't boo the team. You know, he says all these things. And do you feel like it's some type of beef between the front office and the fan base?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No question, no question there is, man. I mean, I think it's a little bit of new territory for him. For the last 16 years, Mickey Loomis ain't heard the fans boo like this. And you know, it's new to them because they're used to winning around here. And I think for them, they kind of, you know, acting a little pissy, but that's your own problem. Like, this is the only way fans have to fight back. We got two ways. We're gonna boo, or we're not gonna show up to the games and watch the game. So I mean, it's your choice which one you want. You'd rather us be in the stands and booing because that way, you know, we paid to get in there. So I mean, you know, there's always an alternative, and that's an empty stadium. So, you know, and I mean, you know, take it for what you will. I think they're really not appreciating what the fans want. We want a winner. And I understand that for Mickey, he's like, well, we're trying to put that together. That's why we're making the moves that we're making. We'll make better decisions, because you can't keep blaming it on the fans when y'all, you know, when the product on the field ain't winning, which we should be supportive of.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I just can't wait till the fan base, you know, all collectively, you know, like a quarterback and head coach, and we all on the same page. Like, I just can't wait till that get back to normal, because this division in the fan base, it's just overwhelming to me, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
man, it's wild, bro.
when it comes to the people who feel like, oh, the Saints are in cap hell, they have Derek Carr, they haven't selected a quarterback in 50 years. Even if they fire Dennis Allen, this is not a good destination for a head coach. What do you say to that?
I think it's nonsense, man. First of all, the NFL only has 32 head coaching jobs. So if you're going to be one of them 32, everybody's always looking for that. The cap hell has never been a problem for the Saints. Never been a problem. Now, do I think it's more than the you know, the little dust off the shoulder that they make it out to be? Well, sure, because you can't keep pushing them contracts down the road. Eventually, you're gonna have to pay that credit card bill. You can't keep paying $25 on it and thinking that something gonna happen. You got to eventually, you know, stop that minimum payment and pay the whole bill. Otherwise, you know, you basically wasting your time doing it. You're never gonna get, you know, you're never gonna get a clean slate. So it's the same thing with the Saints, bro. At some point, y'all got to stop the, you know, the way you're doing it. But it's not gonna stop them from getting a team. I mean, you know, getting a, you know, a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, whatever they want to do. Business is gonna be done as usual. But what's gonna matter is the pieces that they have in place. If I don't have the ability to go get me the players that I need to win, that's a whole different story.
So if you take your bias out and you are an upcoming head coach, assuming that the Chargers job is already taken by another head coach that's kind of like more, you know, seasoned or whatever, what do you think your next best option is?
I mean, it depends on what happens with Arizona too, because I mean, I happen to like, you know, the pieces that, you know, they have with Kyler Murray already in place. Of course, Chicago is going to be one in which they got a ton of draft picks, a lot of cap space. So if they, you know, fire the head coach and bring somebody else, which I want to say they just hired this dude that they have now, man. So they might not be in the business of that, but I mean, depending on what happens, bro. If I'm looking around, I can tell you the Saints not my top three.
Ugh, shit. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
so it's pretty much already kind of set in stone that we're not going to get like a season head coach. We're going to have to hire a young guy like we took a chance on Sean Payton.
Yeah, which isn't a problem because they got some good names out there. Like, I don't think Ben Johnson is going to be one of the guys that looks like the Saints and say, you know what, I'll take that job. Not if he has two choices, Carolina or the Saints. Well, I think the Saints are your better bet. But I you know, that's what, you know, going up against a worse, I should say, a worse situation would be the Saints would be the better situation out of those two of those jobs. So yeah, I'd take the Saints over that. But if you have the opportunity to say the Chargers or the Saints, well, of course you take the Chargers. And the same thing is going to be made for a guy like Frank Smith over there in Miami. Like, you know, if the Saints, if it comes down to it and your top three choices are gone, sure, New Orleans is the wave then. But if you got a choice to go to LA, take that. Maybe Chicago to a certain degree. You take that. Because in Chicago, you're going to get exactly what you need, the amount of time that you need to do what you have to, because they're not expecting you to, you know, jump right on in there and win, you know, 13 games. They understand it's going to be a slow build. They still don't know what they want to do with their quarterbacks right now.
Mm. Yeah, man. I think the Panthers passed on Ben Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe
He declined on them last year.
Oh, he declined on them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
Well,
declined on them last year and said he was going to stay in Detroit.
mm, Okay, I guess he wanted to build a resume up. He's seen all the new toys he was gonna have with Gibbs and Laporta. They probably already had them on the draft board, so I guess he wanted to get his resume up. But it's working out for him. I can tell you that. Um, it's a lot of people who feel like it's any given Sunday. And before the season started, they said, "Man, you should never just say this was an easy schedule." You know, it's never an easy schedule. I don't know why y'all keep saying that. It's a different Sunday every Sunday. You got to come out there and you got to go show it. Like, what do you feel like about the people who say it's an easy schedule versus it's no way DA should have lost with this schedule that we having with the skills opponents?
Well, I think first of all that I totally agree with you. So sometimes people can't necessarily look at the schedule and say it's going to be easy. I'm a logistics dude. I mostly, when I look at the schedule and I try to predict wins and losses, I try to predict travel. So, for instance, if the Saints got a game in LA, they're playing the Rams, and then the following week they got to fly to New York and play the Jets. Well, I mean, it's more likely because of the travel time that they'll lose that game against the Jets. You got to fly from New Orleans to LA, then fly back to New Orleans, then fly to New York. I mean, that takes away your prep time. So it makes sense if that has to happen. Oh, when you look at those schedule gauntlets, when they have 3 games within a 14-day period, they play a game on Sunday, play a game on Thursday. That's 2 games. Then you come back and play another, Thursday night game or something like that. You look at the logistics of it and you're like, you know what, man, that's a lot of football to be played in such a short period of time. Usually that happens around the holidays. So it makes sense for you to say they might lose those. But when you're talking about schedule, this is one of the first times in which people who have predicted the schedule will be easy for Dennis Allen were absolutely right. 2 years in a row, it's set up for Dennis Allen to win. So now it's kind of like, well, we thought the schedule would be beneficial to you. It should have been beneficial to you, and you couldn't capitalize on it. At some point, you got to kind of blame, the dude that can't win games when everything is lining up for you. And when we say easy, it's like, instead of you catching a guy like, Bryce Young, 13 weeks into the season, if you catch him early, then you get a good look at him and see what he can and can't do. So it's easy for you the next time you see him to build a better game plan. CJ Stroud, on the other hand, people weren't expecting to come out and play as good as he did early. So, that was still a toss-up, but you're talking about facing CJ Stroud, rookie. Anthony Richardson was supposed to play in the Colts game, rookie. Bryce Young, rookie. You played the Minnesota Vikings without Kirk Cousins, and he'd been breaking the Saints' ass in half for as long as we can remember. So yeah, the schedule did play out easy for Dennis Allen. He just couldn't get it done.
And then if you look at all the wins that we had, like with the Vikings, with the Titans game, that could have very well been a Derek Carr fumble. Not to mention the 2 missed opportunities the Titans had on those trick plays that they had where a guy was just wide open. We barely escaped out of there. The Bears, we had 5 turnovers. We barely escaped up out of there. We beat the Patriots. Yeah, the Patriots are bad, but they still had their top corner and their top pass rusher out. Who else? The Panthers twice. That's man. I'm still kind of mad that Adebo made that tackle on Miles Sanders. I think Adebo cost us our future right then and there when he made that damn tackle.
Yeah. That definitely was a franchise-changing tackle.
But you look at the wins, man, and it's like, yeah, man, easy schedule, got even easier. You're playing backups. You're playing a lot of the star players are getting injured for the opposing team, and we still here with a losing record. And on top of that, you look at the way we did win some of these games. None of these people are winning records except the Colts game, and even the Colts game, you still gave up a ton of yardage in that game, and you really showed that you really can't stop the run. So it's like, man, you look at our wins, and it's like, man, we really don't have no components of being a playoff team. Like we have bad coaching staff, bad quarterback play, O-line can't run block. What about it? We still not good in the red zone, in my opinion. That was the Panthers. Special teams, we can't kick field goals. Blake Grupe, he missed like a 20-something yarder. I'm still out on Lou Hedley. On defense, we have no pass rush. Maybe we could turn the corner when it comes to Zach Bond and just, sit Cam on the bench a little bit more. We can't stop tight ends. Oh, yeah, and we still got to deal with the referees.
I mean, when you look at that recipe, bro, that's one hell of a gumbo for a losing team, and that's exactly what they are right now, man. And I mean, they're trying to crawl themselves back to respectability, but I mean, at this point, it shouldn't even be that. And you have guys out there, in the fan base, and half media or whatever like that are saying that Sean Payton wouldn't have did any better. I don't understand what anybody's talking about because being out here in Denver, bro, we see what Sean Payton doing. This man is a game away from being in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. I just think they saying that to cope just to feel better about themselves. They know it can't be, justified with no facts. So they just say it like, oh, if Sean was here, it'd have been the same thing. Like bullshit. Bullshit. But man, when you have all those things going on, all those categories, I named at least 8 or 9 things. When you have all that going on, it's no way you're going far in the playoffs. Now, if you have a good quarterback, but you ain't really got no good run game, you can mask that run deficiency. If you have a good front seven, but your secondary on your defense is a little shaky, you can mask that. But you can't mask all these problems.
No, man. I mean, not at all, bro. Like Halloween couldn't mask all these damn problems. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's too much going on right now, bro. It's not gonna be any easier coming this week because I mean, you watched the Giants play this week, man, and it looked like, wait a minute, this can't be the same team we saw earlier that was getting smashed by everybody. And it's exactly what you said. What's exactly the consolation prize if the Saints make the playoffs and get bounced in the first round? Like, what exactly is that? Are you getting besides a lower draft pick? And it's not like you can say, well, that first round draft pick, should be good enough because we got a second round pick too from Denver. No, that second round pick from Denver, the more Sean Payton wins, the lower that one gets in the draft as well. So we're talking about it's going from a top 10 pick in both the first and second round. So now you're talking about, man, maybe a bottom 10 pick. Because if the Saints make the playoffs, that automatically puts them in the bottom part of the draft. And if Denver makes the playoffs, that automatically puts that second round in the bottom part of the draft. And you don't have a third rounder. You don't have a fourth rounder. In fact, what I remember, you have a first, a second, I want to say a fifth, and 2 sixths. That ain't really no damn draft picks if you're trying to improve your team.
Yeah, man. Like, when it comes to the fan base, it's divided. Like, some people want to lose out. They get called fake fans. I know it's like a cardinal sin to root against your team. And, some people, they the optimistic people who feel like after 14 weeks, everything that was documented, all the evidence that you see, you feel like they're going to change it around. Let alone we haven't even beat 3 teams in a row this season. We only did it last season. So how you think we're going to win against 4 teams with better head coaches, better rosters, and on top of that, it's like, you're gonna get all the first teams next year if you go to the playoffs because you're gonna get that type of schedule. So I'm looking at it like, man, I really feel like in the bottom of my heart, me wanting the team to lose is better for the team. It's almost like you got an added cousin and they just going through withdrawals and they need a hit. And if they was to get that hit, yeah, it'll be better for them for the moment, but it'd be detrimental to them for the future.
Yeah. We're talking about long-term ramifications when you say stuff like that, and that's exactly what it is. You win this year, make the playoffs again. You're gonna lower your draft stock. You don't really have a bounty of draft picks in the first place. Your salary cap is all jacked up, and then on top of that, next year you get a first place schedule. I'm like, I mean, I see no benefits to it. This is in my opinion, the greater good would be for the New Orleans Saints to lose instead of winning, and that way they have a chance to rebuild and replenish. Even if they want to say they're going to take the first round pick and stupidly trade that pick and trade, down in the draft. They got a top 10 pick. They trade to the teams or whatever like that, pick up some extra draft picks. It's not like you can't use it because the Saints have a lot of deficiencies on that team that they need to replenish in the offseason. And the cap ain't going to, the free agency ain't going to get it for you because you're going to have to overspend if you're a losing team.
Yeah. And when it comes to losing, a lot of people make it about the draft position. I make it more so about getting Dennis Allen fired. Well, the hopes and chances of getting Dennis Allen fired. Like, I just want us to lose so bad to the point where it's just total chaos in the organization. And the prisoners have just ran over the asylum, and Dennis Allen just have no more control than when he already don't have right now. Like, it's so much leaks going on up in this organization that it's just embarrassing. Like, when it comes to like, just saying, oh yeah, man, you're a fake fan. You should never want the team to win, but you really want the team to win just to say we made the playoffs, just to laugh at Atlanta. But I'm past that. Like, I want Dennis Allen gone. Like, and it does coincide with the draft because if Dennis Allen is gone, I feel like that's a higher % chance that we take a quarterback in the first round.
Same here. And most importantly, what I think people are losing sight of, man, is that it's not that you want the team to lose for the sake of losing. You want the team for the sake of losing so they can improve long term. Because if you keep running this back, this is about as good as you're gonna get. Maybe Dennis Allen gets to 10-7, maybe he's 9-8, whatever it may be, but that's exactly where you are. You're not improving, you're kind of staying in mediocrity. So
Yeah,
do you want to win long term or not? And that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to set yourself up for the future. We are in a bad division, a very winnable division long term, because Atlanta still got to get their stuff together. Carolina got to get their stuff together. Tampa has to get their stuff together. And the first team that does is going to be the team that basically has a chance to take control of the division and not give it back. So when you say things like, the fans may be looking at it like, yeah, we get a chance to laugh at Atlanta because we won the division. Okay, you laugh at Atlanta. So you're going to laugh this year, and then they'll be laughing for the next 5 years. Which one do you really want? This year or the next 5?
yeah, man. Like when it comes to that, like I really feel like you really want to win the division. You want to win the division at the expense of bringing Da back and being miserable again next year. Like I don't see no logic in that. And you know the funny part about it, they fandom really like with all that stuff I named about the components of not being a playoff team. If I was to say that about another team, they would have their glasses off and they would have the logic glasses on. They would have the goofy glasses off and have the logic glasses on and say, oh, that team has no chance. But since it's their team, they fandom causes them to have faith.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the parts of, the bad parts of the fan base. Is like when you become so delusional that, almost like, the Derek Carr stands. You know what I'm saying? It's like this man had 37 yards with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And people are out there defending him. And, oh, Derek had a good game. Well, what damn good game, when a quarterback barely has, 40 yards in the fourth quarter? It reminds me of why the Saints picked him in the first place, because I'm like, they played a very similar game against, Derek Carr, in which they didn't allow him to cross the 50-yard line. And then for some strange reason, you thought that should be my QB of the future. It doesn't make sense. At some point, some things are indefensible. Now, there's some people that I no longer associate with that, that once upon a time had to learn at the hallway that you can't defend what's indefensible when it comes to Derek Carr. Either he is or he ain't. And wearing those goggles ain't going to do nothing for you. Because eventually, you're going to have to take them off and see Derek Carr for what he is.
Yeah, man. And I felt like his family just blocking people. I feel like if they blocking everybody, I'm pretty sure that they in their house talking about the fan base and the culture. So to me, that just gonna bring in even more chaos. And I'm all here for it because I just want a new regime up in here. That's all I really want, for the greater good. But when it comes to like getting chaos and all these things, Michael Thomas 2 weeks ago, he tweeted during the game, what do you think is going to be his punishment if he even get a punishment at all? Because he probably feel like it's no ramifications if I do this because it's Dennis Allen, it's the quote unquote substitute teacher, and I wouldn't even give him that title.
Mike ain't worried about Dennis Allen, bro. I mean, he deleted his account in order to be contractually obligated, because I think there's a morality clause or something that they're using to tell him he had to delete his account. He couldn't do that type of stuff. But Mike, the Mike was kind of like the writing was all on the wall for him already. You know what I'm saying? It's like the contract. Don't get me wrong. I think Mike wants to be in New Orleans, but I don't think he wants to be in New Orleans bad enough to where he's gonna pass up going to a Kansas City or go and play for the Chargers. With Justin Herbert or somebody like that. I don't think Mike is in that type of position to sit down and say, "I'll pass that up so I can remain with the Saints," unless both Da and Derek Carr are gone. And I don't think Derek is going anywhere because of his contract and that no trade clause that he has. So you're not going to pick between Mike and Derek. If that's the case, you're always going to pick Derek. So I don't think Mike fears any ramifications because he understands that once I'm gone and I'm in a different city, I get to prove to everybody exactly what I've been saying. It wasn't me. And all he needs is one team. They got 31 other ones out there. He only needs one to say, yeah. And it doesn't even have to be one of those, like Odell just got a 1 year, $17 million contract, something like that from Baltimore. Imagine Mike playing with Lamar right now.
That'll be a safety blanket that he could use. But when it comes to like, the people who are under fire, Derek Carr, Pete Carmichael, Dennis Allen, I feel like Doug Marone's going under the radar. Like, this dude really improved with Cesar Ruiz last year, but he just took a huge step back this year. And on top of that, You look at Penix development. Like, what do you feel like about Doug Marrone?
I feel like Doug Marrone definitely outstayed his welcome. You know what I'm saying? I think they should have kept who they had in place with Dan Rochelle, who went to Tulane afterwards. And, mysteriously, Tulane's O-line was one of the better units, in the country this year because of it. So I think they should have stuck with that one. So, I think Doug Marrone, outstayed his welcome when Sean left and Doug left that first time to go be a head coach. It should have stayed that way. With that being said, the offensive line has actually, as a unit, improve more than what they have in beginning of the season. Now they haven't improved to enough to where we can sit down and pat them on the back for that shit, no doubt. But they still have improved enough to where you can say it's not an O-line issue per se. Like it's not always going to be on the O-line anymore like it was earlier. And as we're starting to see more and more as the season goes on, we blamed a lot on the offensive line early in the season, and rightfully so. We blamed a lot on Pete Carmichael early in the season, and rightfully so. Those two units, Pete Carmichael with his play calling and the offensive line in general under Doug Marrone, both sides have been inconsistent, but they've played better than what we've given them credit for at times as well, or been better than what we've given them credit for. The problem is that when DC goes out there and he doesn't, execute as well as he could, it makes those units look bad. And I think at this point, everybody's kind of tired of DC pointing the finger at them and being like, bro, it's time for you to take some accountability.
What do you think? What scenario you think will have to take place for DA to most likely get fired?
A fist fight in the locker room. I think the locker room has to get to a point to where it's toxic. And again, from what I understand, and I ain't as plugged in what I used to be since I moved out of New Orleans. By all accounts, the locker room still hasn't broken up yet. Now they got some fractions in it. You got some fractions because there's a contingent of people that don't like QB1, and there's a contingent of people that don't like the head coach either. They tolerate, they don't like. But with that being said, I think it's gonna have to take something toxic like a locker room fight breaking out in order for DA to go, because I think they can if DA manages to get to an above 500 record, it's something they can spin. They lose out, maybe not, but you can blame it on and in week 10 we had injuries, and that we needed a Marshawn, we needed a Mike Thomas, we needed these people in order to contend because we're missing weapons now. I think they can get a little bit of leeway with that. Now, if you bottom out and you lose the last four games, it is what it is. There ain't no excuses for that one. But I think it's going to have to be locker room fight or locker room breaking up. I think it's going to have to be bottoming out. And, of course, I think it's going to have to be with the fans continuing. It won't be one thing that get him going. It's going to have to be like a collective.
I feel like when it comes to a lot of these position groups and a lot of these players individually, if we had a better coaching staff, we would see drastic improvement, or at least, decent improvement. But some of these guys, it's like, okay, I just think you just not on your shit. Something just off with you. Like, who are your disappointing players that you feel like is on this team besides Derek Carr, and you ain't even much going to give him the graces of just saying, oh, but it's the staff. Right now, I really feel like Juwan Johnson, like, I don't know what's going on with Juwan, but it just seemed like he's just not giving it his all. And I feel like Colin Sanders, he was supposed to come here and just, be the savior when it comes to the D-line, over David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle and people like that. But I really feel like his saving grace is the fullback package because it's fun to the fans. But you take that away, it's like, man, I think Roach been playing better than him.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say, man, Juwan is definitely on my list. And maybe that's to no fault of his own. Maybe it's the fact that the offense isn't really getting to tight ends as much as it should be. He's one of my guys, man. Jamal Williams had a good game, against the Panthers, but we haven't really seen it until now. And again, I'm wondering if that's an issue of, it just hasn't been given the opportunity, or if it's an issue of when you had the opportunity, you still didn't produce the way you were supposed to. So those two offensively are going to be two of my guys in which I say, you know what? I expected a lot more from y'all than what I saw. Defensively, I know you said Colin, man, but before he got hurt, Marcus May was my dude, man. Like, Marcus May I don't see the impact yet. I mean, I know they brought him in for Marcus Williams, and Marcus Williams, Minnesota Miracle be damn, was more of a ball hawk back there. I mean, he would erase stuff, but I haven't seen it from Marcus May yet, man. I haven't seen him make the game-changing plays that really make sense to justify why they let Marcus Williams walk and why they brought in Marcus May. I haven't seen it yet. And maybe, man, just the linebacker unit as a whole, we need some speed out there, man. Like DeMario doing this thing, but he's up in age. I don't see no linebacker depth really, unless you're telling me next year, they're gonna let DeMario go and they're gonna have Pete Warner slide in at middle linebacker and let him play that role, and then kind of start over from there. I don't really see it with the the linebacker unit as a whole. I don't see the impact plays I thought we see.
Yeah, man, the turnovers are definitely not there from the linebacker unit. I wish we would have kept what was his name, Jalen Smith, but that's neither here nor there. My last question about the Saints, before we just go ahead on and talk about the Pels, what are your prediction? And I'm gonna let you put on your nigga Diamonds hat. What are your prediction and what do you foresee happening after the Giants game?
To be honest with you, bro, I picked them to lose against Carolina. So for me to, sit here and say I think they're gonna beat the Giants, I'd be lying. I think the Saints right now have an opportunity to make or break their season for Dennis Allen. Now I know the player's not necessarily playing for DA, but for me, I think they may lose a close game against the Giants. And then I'm sorry about that, bro. Give me 1 sec. I'm in my daughter's car. Hold up. Okay. Yeah, now we're Gucci. Yeah, bro. I mean, for me, man, I think that I can see them losing to the Giants, losing to the Rams, and then winning the last 2 division games to make it respectable, because that's just what the Saints do. So for me, I think they might finish the season 2-2, give everybody that false hope of like we was right there on the cusp of doing it, and kind of, unfortunately, maybe even running it back next year by DA being to be like, maybe Carr fakes an injury or two and said, oh man, we would have won some of these games, but we ain't have Derek. Like, I don't know, man. Like something just ain't right about the way, they're going about business with the New Orleans Saints right now. So for me, I don't think they're gonna manage to make the playoffs. If they make it, then I mean that'll be by by hook or by crook, and lucky for good for them if that's what they want. But from what I understand, the playoffs was never the goal. It was supposed to be a Super Bowl trophy, and they don't look like a Super Bowl team.
You got a score prediction?
I'm gonna take the Giants to win this one, man. An ugly, close game. I don't think the Saints. I mean, fuck the way. Excuse me, bro. The way the Saints are out here, man. Playing ball. I think it's gonna be something like 20-16 or something like that. It's gonna be an ugly game. I can't until the Saints start really putting up points consistently. I can't pick them to put up points.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it'll be like maybe 24-17. I really don't know who's gonna win this game. I really don't know, because that boy DeVito, like, he got them legs. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor gonna play, but I would like to think they're gonna stick with DeVito. They got Saquon Barkley. I feel like Daboll is a better head coach than Dennis Allen. They got that boy in them trenches, Dexter Lawrence. They got that one rookie pass rusher. I think he got like 12 sacks. So, man, look here. But I don't know, because they may be playing for draft position too. So you never know. You never know with these things. But I really just feel like when it comes to their run game, I really think they could run us out the building. When it comes to Saquon Barkley and Tommy DeVito running that ball, and I think that Brian Daboll is gonna drop a whole lot of stuff on.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the Alvin Kamara mirror match, right? Because Saquon Barkley could damn near do everything Alvin could do. On top of that, the Saints' run defense is absolutely horrible. If there's any vulnerability, it's going to be with them being able to run the ball on the Saints. And most importantly, we've seen the Giants beat the Saints when they had Sean Payton, who's a better head coach than DA out there, man, and the Saints struggle with them. So it's not a far-fetched thing that the Giants put together a game plan to beat the Saints this coming week, especially because Saquon Barkley is actually healthy. Man, and the Saints don't have enough film on DeVito or their inability to stop running quarterbacks. This could be a bad game for the Saints, man. So for me, I'm picking the Giants, and if the Saints so happen to miraculously win it, then so be it. The Saints are now the easy team on the schedule too.
Yeah, that we the get right game. But yeah, man, that's crazy, man. And it's crazy, bro. Like, games like this, man, I used to get up for it. I used to be like, man, we gonna get back for them Giants. I actually think that Sean Payton lost that game because Jameis was cooking that game, but he just kept letting Taysom. But I think Taysom gonna have a good game against the Giants when he come back. I think he's gonna have a good game. So I think people should watch out for him. But when it comes to this team, bro, I'm really detached. All my emotions is out the window. I used to get anxiety before we play rival teams or division conference games and stuff like that. I used to get real nervous. I used to be superstitious. Like, even when it come down to what I wear with my underwear. Like I used to say, oh, I ain't wearing this color because that's the team color we playing today. I ain't wearing that. I'm wearing black. Or, like I don't even do that no more. I don't even care no more. I just watch the game and I just be emotionless with no feeling. Like I'm just rooting for them to lose, but I do want to see flashes of the good players. But I mean, we're gonna see. I feel like it's gonna be a fun game, the Giants game. I feel like it's gonna be a fun game because I just think it's gonna be a Taysom game, and I think it's gonna be a Tommy DeVito game. So we're gonna see how it's gonna play out. But let's go ahead and talk about these Pels, man. What do you make about the comments that everybody's talking about online when it comes to Zion Wade and Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaq? What do you make about those comments? And then just go ahead on this, just talk about the loss that we took to those Lakers.
Well, I'm gonna say it like this, bro. Like when it comes to Zion, man, I know a lot of people are piling on right now. The problem is that if you don't give people a way to pile on, then they can't, and that's Zion's problem. He's giving them a story to talk about, and that's his fault. Because if you go out there, you handle your business like you're supposed to, then all of that goes away. If you handle your business in the offseason and get yourself in the best shape possible, that that goes away. The only person that can control or spin this story is Zion. Now he tried to do a damn good job of that, against Minnesota by basically bullying Rudy Gobert for 36 points, man. I want to say 36.5 balls, 4 assists, something like that, man. So I mean, he put up good numbers against Rudy, but when the lights were on, you shrunk, bro, and that's not what people are looking forward to or expecting out of you. Zion is supposed to be a franchise saving player. He's supposed to be the next, NBA saving player. He's supposed to be the next LeBron, and we ain't seeing that from him. So for me, man, I feel like if Zion doesn't create the problem, then there is no problem for people to talk about. And yes, I do believe there's a lot of truth around that joke that they're cracking on him, on how he's fat, out of shape, and really, it might be potentially he doesn't love basketball. He doesn't love basketball as much as people would think he does. I think there's some truth to that.
Is it really that hard even when you're young? Yeah, I get it. He's a young man. He has access to a lot of money. He has access to a lot of women. Is it really that hard to stay pat with a certain diet that your nutritionist has out for you?
I would think so, bro, because like a lot of the times, man, when you're young and dumb, if you will, man, like you don't really care about what the adults are telling you around you. I think that's why it takes a different breed of dude. It takes a Kobe, it takes a dude like that. It takes a dude that just got a different type of mentality. Like, nah, man, I'm trying to be the GOAT. And LeBron to a degree, man. Look what they said. LeBron spent $1 million a year on his body. Zion just signed a $300 and some $million contract with weight clauses in it. There's a problem when somebody has to do that for you, man. So I mean, for me, yeah, I think Zion has to be wired in a way in which says that nobody has to motivate me. I'm self-motivated. I got this, and I don't see it from him. So yeah, I do think maybe somebody needs to step in. But when you young and you ignorant like that, you got all the money you could ever need. You got the fame. You got women chasing you. I mean, hell, we all remember what happened with him and Mariah Mills. That girl was on Twitter every day, begging for this man, like as if like what you did to this girl, bro. So with that being said, it's not gonna change because he's Zion. Like the fame came before the accolades, and that's just that's just the price of it now.
I made a joke with Jono when I had him on the stream, and I said, "Yeah, man, maybe she need to show up at the games like Travis Kelce girl, Taylor Swift for Zion." But she did say that she was getting him on track when it came to his diets. Like he wanted to eat junk food, but she told him, "Oh, don't do that." So who knows? He dumped her supposedly, so who knows? But when it comes to that, I really feel like just exactly what you said about being young and dumb. Like I feel like, man, you can't tell nobody nothing when you in the early 20s. You feel like you're Superman. You feel like, man, none of this stuff gonna catch up to me until 10 years down the line. I could do all this, and I'll still be able to go hoop. Tomorrow morning, like when you feel like you Superman and you just a physical specimen like Zion. It's not gonna, it's gonna be in one end out the other. You're just gonna talk in front of the camera. You're gonna give good graces in front of the camera, and then once the camera's off and you back at your mansion, you're gonna do what you want to do, and ain't nobody watching you. But do you feel like Jordan Hawkins is in the winning doghouse?
I think he should get more. I think he should get more play for sure, man. I think that when you have Trey Murphy, it's easy to sit Jordan Hawkins because you're like, well, we got our guys. Jose's back, Najee's back, and there's a lot of minutes that need to be divvied up. But You don't take a dude that was playing that well off the floor, man. I mean, it's up to Willie to figure out how to get him in the game, but you don't take a dude that was playing that well off the floor, especially when it's not warranted. And don't get me wrong, I know you need more defense with Najee and, Jose as a spark, but man, you got to play Jordan, bro. You got to put Hawk out there, and you got to get him those NBA minutes. You don't get, I don't know what logic that coaches have, but you don't get better on the bench. I don't know who the hell lied to him and told him that.
Yeah, man. When we won against the Timberwolves, that was a good game to bounce back from for Zion. But when we lost against them Lakers, man, I was just like, damn, man, that's just one of them teams that we can't beat because it's like we ain't got no answer for goddamn Anthony Davis, or sometimes LeBron, he just getting this bad. But I did think they were just shooting the shit out that ball that game. It's like that's the fun thing about the NFL. If a team just hot in that 3-point line, it's hard to beat them, bro. But man, bro, LeBron looked like he just shaved 20 years off his career when he played us. And it just seemed like the NBA in-season tournament is looking like a good idea when they playing for that money on the line.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, man. It could be just the idea of it's almost a question of whether the Lakers that good or whether the Pelicans that bad. Because I don't know which one is which one. I don't think the Lakers are the team that we saw beat the Pelicans. And I don't think the Pelicans are the team that we saw lose to the Lakers. I think it's somewhere in between the two. I think they're more evenly matched than we give them credit for. The question is going to be, when are the Pelicans going to stop shrinking in the big moments? You shrunk in a playing game last year. You shrunk in the playoffs, the year before that. It's like, how many times y'all going to get to, y'all going to like basically take fans on that roller coaster to where you get all the way to the top and then there's no drop off. Like, I want the thrill of being able to go downhill and enjoy this ride, man. And I'm not getting that. You're teasing me with it. So either y'all going to step up in the big moments, or y'all going to, blow this team up and start anew with some more players. Like maybe you start anew with you trade BI, you keep Trey Murphy or something like that, or maybe you trade Zion, you go in a different direction. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but I know this team can't currently stay as constructed and keep shrinking when the moment counts, because that's what CJ was supposed to be brought in here for, to be like that veteran guiding presence to get you through those tough games. It's not happening.
What do you make of Trey Murphy's return, and what do you feel like is going to happen when it comes to Herb Jones trying to get that first team defense?
I think, man, there's no reason why Herb shouldn't get it. But because he plays for the Pelicans, and unless they win consistently and put themselves within the top 4 teams in the West, I think Herb Jones ain't got a chance in hell, because they're going to always find somebody else. Rudy Gobert be winning that award with his eyes closed. And it ain't like he out there, like I said, Zion bully him every time they play. So it's always going to be, names over game. So Herb Jones ain't going to never have the name as these other dudes. He damn sure got the game to go out there and ball. But unless the Pelicans start winning to give him more national recognition, not on Herb, is only going to be done in New Orleans. Nobody else ain't going to be able to, come to the voting booth, if you will, and put his name on the ballot and say that's the best defensive player in the league. They got to win.
All right, so before I let you go, man, like, what are your overall thoughts on the Pelicans team so far this early in the season? Like, are you feeling good about them? Are they meeting your expectations? Are they, succeeding expectations? Like, what are your overall thoughts on the team so far?
No, man, the Pelicans are just about what I thought they would be. They're mediocre. They have the talent to be better. They could be worse, but they're right there in the middle. And I think that's where they're going to remain. I'm starting to question whether or not Willie Green is the right dude to lead this team moving forward, because on too many occasions I'm seeing Willie get outcoached. And you're getting outcoached by people you shouldn't be getting outcoached by. And when it comes to that game with the Lakers in particular, your team looked like they weren't even ready to play. They look like they had, and we're talking about, the play-in tournament, everybody's excited about it. You got them running stories on Jose, potentially taking his $500,000 and giving it to his kids. So you getting that attention, and then you go out there and you play like that. That's not, that's not conducive to winning basketball or trying to win over a fan base that's teetering. We believe the Pels can get it done. We haven't seen it happen. So for me, the Pels are right where I thought they'd be. They're a mediocre young team that plays good in spurts, and they're going to play bad in other spurts. And at some point, the light switch has to happen, and they got to kind of, go on one of those 10-game winning streaks. If not, the Pels going to be right where they are. They're going to be somewhere in that 8, 9, 10 range trying to fight for a play-in spot. That's not where you should be with all the talent on the roster.
What are the things that Willie is lacking in? Like, I see a lot of people online that the main things they talk about is the minutes given to the players, his certain lineups in certain moments, and him not using his challenges. Like, what do you see?
I think that all of the above. I think that's, it's a combination of everything with it. On top of the idea of sometimes it seems like strategy wise, Willie don't have the right idea. He doesn't play the right, to his strengths at times. And of course, that has a lot to do with health. But at some point, man, you got to play to your strengths. The Pelicans are a team that can get up and down. You now have a litany of shooters. But again, when you're not playing Jordan Hawkins, it's hard to say you got shooters because the only shooter you technically have, consistently is Trey Murphy. CJ is a decent shooter to me. He's not what I thought he was when he was in Portland. It seems like, whenever there's a big shot that needs to be made, like say, the Pelicans are going on a little bit of a run. And, it's that dagger three-pointer, if you will. It's like, you're up by 9, the crowd going crazy. You get a little bit of a fast break, and it's that pull-up 3. It always seemed like CJ missed that one. And that's that one that's going dagger. That's that what's going to, timeouts being called, the crowd going crazy, and all of a sudden you understand if you're an opposing team, all right, bro, this one here, we might as well call it quits because ain't no way we coming back. Everything is, they sinking these damn shots right here, the crowd going crazy. We ain't going to be able to fight our way back in this one. Let's pack up and go home, fight another day. CJ don't never hit that shot. So to me, I feel like, man, it seems like there's something up with Willie to a point to where he can't really, put his players in the best position, to succeed. And that sounds like an X's and O's thing more than it is, a rah-rah guy. And I take an X's and O's dude over the rah-rah dude anyway. I can get a dude on my bench that can rah-rah all day long. I need to be able to, coach these schemes and, and get these, these plays out here. I don't know if Willie can.
Well, hopefully he could get it right because I just hope it ain't no situation that, Willie Green just got like symptoms of Dennis Allen and he just can't get the team prep throughout the prep before the game start. That's one thing I really hope is not. It's one thing to, not do good between the ebbs and the flows in the games, but if you can't even do good when it comes to preparation, then man, we got a whole nother problem on our hand and people are gonna start calling for James Borrego.
So man, look, it's looking like the Spider-Man meme right now between the Saints and the Pelicans when it comes to mediocrity and coaching, man. It's looking a lot alike.
Hey man, well, we Saints fans, we Pelicans fans, all we could do is just keep watching, just get our popcorn and just sit and just enjoy the ride, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. But I'm gonna go ahead on and let you get up out of here. But before I do, man, tell the people where they can follow you at, man.
Man, you can follow me on Twitter /X, whatever you call it these days, man. It's BryanTNR at BryanTNR, capital BRYN, capital T, capital N, capital R, man. That's me all day long.
All right, man. Appreciate you for joining the show, man.
Salute, brother.
All right.